You're listening to a Countout Podcast.
And welcome to another episode of Your Dose of Death podcast. It is Loren, of course. As you can see, this will be out the week of this upcoming show. As always, I think before the recording, I actually kind of made an honorary member at this point because I think the year of 2024, as I've said before, is the year of RPW. They've been on the up. They've been on the up for a really good while now, and Chris is really a good friend, so I have the absolute pleasure of basically making Chris Kohlenberg like the unofficial official third member of the show to talk all things RPW, because there's no one better to talk about RPW than the head honcho himself, right? So, as you can see, we're back with Chris Kohlenberg. We're going to be covering all of Animosity, the next RPW show at the legendary Berwyn Eagles in good old Chicago. Coming up Saturday, March 2nd. So tickets are almost sold out for this one.
Well, we got close, but the venue was nice enough to loosen us up another 50 to add on. So I don't know where we're going to be at by the time this comes out.
Okay.
But as of right now, we still got a decent amount going on. We came close for a little bit, but then we were able to up what we were normally allowed to sell,
which is awesome. I mean, that's really a testament to you guys really building a good foundation here in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And the fact that now it's like, oh yeah, like let's put 50 more seats into the building, which is kind of hard for Berwyn because that's not the most like spacious area, as you and me both know. But that shows though that people want to come for Deathmatch Wrestling 1. And second of all, to see Deathmatch Wrestling and Berwyn Eagles. So yeah, that's really a big commitment. And I do have to ask though, how have you been since we last talked before Whiteout? I mean, everything that's happened from Whiteout to now, it's been kind of a crazy process.
Yeah, I mean, we took just a little time off, just to kind of, January is now a really great time to put on shows anyway. People, they're kind of broke after Christmas and all that. And we find that it's just kind of a slump time, so we decided to take just a little time off and recharge our engines. And yeah, we're getting ramped up for this. I ended up getting a couple more irons in the fire for some stuff down the road. We're gonna announce King of the Kill here pretty soon, this year's King of the Kill, and debut in a few new states. So we got a lot of stuff going on.
That's gonna be cool to debut in a new state, if not 2 new states. We'll see.
Looking like 2.
Oh my goodness. You guys are the rapid growth is just unreal for you guys. I mean, literally Michigan-based company. I mean, we've seen other Michigan-based companies, but like you guys really have the growth and you guys have all the potential in the world. So it's just awesome to see that. So let us get into this card. As of right now, as I literally looked on IWTV right before this just to make sure I had the full lineup there. This card is officially full. This is a full card that we are covering right now. So unless someone decides to just randomly turn to a Casper the Unfriendly Ghost, this is the full card we have going. Gonna start off with kind of like the lower part, then we'll make our way to the titles and the main event.
Okay.
So want to start off with one half of Midwest Scum going up against someone who is, I believe, making their RPW debut in Christian Napier?
For their match, yes. That little ball licker did show up kind of out of nowhere at Whiteout and started some trouble with maybe the wrong guy. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, they're not really sure if this is the most fruitful investment for Christian Napier, but he will be at RPW and Animosity taking on, as I said, one half of the RPW Tag Team Champs in Zach Thomas. This is going to be physical. I think Thomas has a lot of motivation to give this brat an ass kicking of a lifetime. And I mean, he did say that Ricky Shane Page and Vincent Nothing are trying to vie for those RPW tag team titles at Whiteout. So I don't know if even those two are going to somehow randomly show up and try and distract Zach Thomas here as a little message for sorts.
I mean, you never know with Ricky. Anytime he's really been here, he's just kind of popped up out of nowhere. You know, even the first time, you know, he ended up wrestling Madman Pondo, but that was supposed to be Carver. You know, and he popped up at this time it's war. He has a tendency just to kind of pop up here and there. So I don't know, man. We'll see.
But either
Kind
way,
of does what he wants.
yeah, he does what he wants, especially these days. But Thomas, again, the motivation's there. He did really good against Hoodfoot. This was really a back at Whiteout, great match with Hoodfoot. And I like Zach Thomas as a singles wrestler. I know you probably have known him better than I do as a singles guy, but like he really impressed me at Whiteout.
Yeah. I mean, the bond between him and Dread King Logan, I believe, happened here. You know, I had them wrestling each other, and as Logan will tell you, you know, he hit him and Zach hit him back, and he was like, "Oh, I can fucking go with this guy." And I think they ended up just beating the living shit out of each other, and that gave them kind of a mutual respect that turned into a bond and a brotherhood because he was coming out of a stable called Right to Die.
Yeah.
And at the time, Zach Thomas was considered kind of like our gatekeeper. Like if you were a new guy coming in, most of the time we would test out your metal and see if you're supposed to be here with Zach Thomas. That's kind of the position he was at for a good solid year or two until, you know, these guys kind of formed up and turned into what has now become Midwest Scum.
Yeah, and I believe they're still the longest reigning RPW tag team champs.
Inaugural, yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy, but yeah, this is a good opener if it's potentially the opener, but this is the first card that match on the show I'm looking at. Two guys definitely with something to prove. I think that's kind of the theme of this one. So next up though, we have our taste of tag team action of the night. Schwartzy and Randy West versus the Bruisers. I love the Bruisers. I just have to flat out confess. I think they are fun. I love them in Chicago. I'm so glad they're back. I think they have a lot to prove this year. I really do.
Yeah, I think anyone that's, you know, there's some people that are like, you know, I'm not very familiar with the Bruisers, and a lot of people, you know, have that mentality sometimes going into the first time they see them, and they're undeniable when you watch them wrestle. You come out a fan. You know, this will be their third appearance for us.
Yes.
Um, they wrestled Midwest Scum first, and then last time they wrestled
Eric
Dale
Dillinger.
Patrick.
Yeah, Eric Dillinger. And that was great. That was a fun match.
ED versus DP or ED plus DP.
But yeah, and of course, everyone's favorite, to my favorite Midwest power couple in Schwartzy and Randy West, two of the most charismatic, but two of the most Daredevil-esque people I know. I mean, yeah, they both lost their titles not too long ago, but as we've said in the past, that doesn't really matter. They're both two of the cornerstones of RPW. If you think of, I think of Randy West as one of the cornerstones of RPW for the longest time.
Yeah.
And Schwartzy, I mean, what else is there to say about Schwartzy that hasn't already been said? So, but this is an interesting kind of thing for them, tagging together against a team that really has a lot to prove this year. And the Bruisers, I mean, it's an interesting clash of styles, I feel like.
Yeah, the Bruisers are really hungry. They really have a lot to prove, and I think Schwartzy and Randy are kind of. I think you're going to see kind of a mean streak out of them because, yeah, like you said, they did both just lose their titles recently. But you know, Randy was our longest reigning deathmatch champion. She held it for a very long time.
Yeah,
and Schwartzy was our inaugural Kamikaze champion. And you know, just because they don't have those belts anymore doesn't mean that they're not every bit the wrestlers they were when they held them. And you know, Randy's put down the best of the best, and Schwartzy as well. So I mean, I think this is going to be a sleeper classic.
that's what I've said the same thing. I like, this is a classic. When this was announced, I was like, this is an absolute classic in waiting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is just this is going to be one solid ass whooping.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever comes out, there's no winner or losers. There's who's hurt more and who's hurt less. That's really the best way I could put it.
Yeah.
Next up, though, this is the one when this was announced. I kind of gave the wide-eyed look of like what the actual frick is happening here, but I could have never thought the amount of beef in this kind of death match could actually happen in 2024. Judge Joe Dredd with, of course, Steven Jury. I've been paid to publicly mention him every time against against a returning Satu Jin. This is just meat on meat on meat. I'm gonna put this out there. I hope the Chicago crowd just starts chanting meat during this match. Like if we chant it all out for AEW, we can chant it here too. So this is just two big dudes who have a lot to give, and I'm deathly concerned for the crowd of Berwyn Eagles.
Yeah, both these guys get real violent too. Last time Satu was here, who is also a former deathmatch champion.
Yes, he is a former deathmatch champ.
He had a panes of glass match with Hoodfoot. That was
my god, I got cut during that. I remember being in the crowd during that one. I got cut like several times during that match, and I'm like, oh, just normal.
And then Dredd is up and coming. That guy's been a freight train through RPW since he debuted, and he's fast becoming a staple and a fan favorite. They don't really like Jury so much.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, but of course, when money talks, I have to make the public statement, okay? But no, this is just like it's just this is like your modern day deathmatch hoss fight. This feels like
Absolutely.
I mean, this just is two guys. I've always been a fan of Satu. I think the growth he's had over the last few years has been really fun to see. But Joe Dredd, as you said, is rising quickly. I mean, finally getting his first win in an RPW ring against Nathan Mowry at Whiteout.
Mm-hmm.
And now he gets this. And then he keeps saying that he has something big planned for not just Chicago, but for Miasma in New Jersey. He keeps saying he has something planned big. I'm almost concerned as to what that is. But right now, he's a man on mission. There's no way around that.
I'm not sure what he's got planned. He keeps sending me these videos, and there is documentation from Jury. There's legal things being filed and paperwork that's supposedly getting served to me. So, no idea what's going on. I'm as in the dark as you are about what this announcement could possibly be.
Either way, what we know is it's going to be something insane. I mean, the man's insane. I mean, literally, that video sent me American Psycho vibes. Looking at a vinyl album in a painting. If that doesn't scream American Psycho 2, I don't know what it does. So
he's a hard duck to read, man.
Yes. But next up, though, this is one that is very interesting. One I didn't expect to see this year. I mean, I won't lie when I say it, but I'm pleasantly surprised in the form of Akira versus Dr. Redacted. I mean, it's been done before, but now it's being done in an RPW ring. And I mean, Akira guy literally has been in Japan now several times, 2 really successful tours. A guy who literally beat one of the legends in Ito. And now he's back in an RPW ring against someone who is another fan favorite, I would say, in Dr. Redacted.
Yeah, this is Akira's kind of comeback. He was always, he's been with us since pretty much the beginning. And, as his star rose, he wasn't as available as he used to be, while he's out in MLW in Japan. But we've got the stars aligned where now he's going to be able to come back and start being around more often. So, he's someone that helped get us where we're at. He was Tommy Vendetta's first death.
Yes, he was
for us. And he's done a lot of things here, and it's really good to finally have the Death Fighter back. It's somebody that's always put on great matches, great shows, and I think the variety that him and a psycho like Redacted is going to bring. We talked about a hoss fight before. This is going to be a whole completely different animal, and it's really just going to be.
Yeah,
it's just going to be something completely different, and crazy and brutal,
It's gonna be interesting to see Akira because he's been implementing more of his like Japanese catch style now in some of
Mhm.
these death matches. And it's interesting to see how his opponents react to that style because some are like, "Oh, we're down with this," or "Oh crap, I've never seen this before." So, but I think with Doctor Redacted, he's just gonna be like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna go for it." That's normal. That's common
He's just kind of a
practice.
berserker. I
Yeah.
don't think Redacted thinks about what he's doing.
What
I
is
think it's just a
thinking?
blur of violence whenever he hits the ring, and I think he doesn't even realize what he's done until he hits the locker room. So
Yeah, I
I
mean
don't think he's
that's a
even
real
thinking
wild
very much
that's a
about it.
real wild card of a match. I really don't know how that one's gonna go. That really feels like the wild card of the show. But next up, um, is the RPW Kamikaze Championship match with Remington Rowan and Eric Dillinger. This is like a Insane 8 match pipe dream in my book because I go to Insane 8 every year. A match I would thought I'd be getting there hasn't happened yet and is happening in RPW. This is like one of my pipe dream matches that I've been heavily looking forward to. Remington has been holding that Kamikaze belt very proud, successfully defended against Randy West. And Dillinger, another guy who came into RPW last year, had a great match with Otis, he's been carrying his own weight around the independent wrestling landscape. And now he's trying to vie for a belt now.
Yeah, well, I think he's really fought his way towards that. He's come in as somebody that has shown that he belongs here and that he's hungry as anyone else, and as he's his star is on the rise. Like he's going to be one of those guys 2 years from now is going to be held up there with the greats.
Yeah.
And you could kind of already see the trajectory going, and I think he's starting to get his eyes on some prizes that'll help get his name up there where it needs to be. But he's got to also kind of go through Remington, a man I watched
Mm.
take a bite out of a cactus like an apple.
Oh my
So I don't know how
God.
well it work out for him.
Yeah, it's an immovable force versus, in this case, a flying object, since Dillinger loves to fly around a lot. I don't know how that's going to work out. All we do know is it's happening, but it's gonna be physical, but they'll just have to get creative here. I feel like he has to get a little bit creative to take down Remington War, but we'll have to see March 2nd. Next up is the very first match that was announced for this show. This is the one that I was like, "Oh Lord, give me guidance. This is not gonna end well." As someone who was at Whiteout and watched one of the scariest injuries, that to me, like as someone who filmed that show, I was one of the scariest injuries I've ever been around slash witnessed. But Otis Koger and Hardway Heater in a no rope barbed wire match, we have to have a winner.
Yeah, I mean, there's no getting out of it without a winner.
Exactly.
And Otis is still not happy with me for making the call to call that match. He just wanted to tape up and keep going. There's been a lot of shit talk back and forth between those two. Behind the scenes, Hardways pretty much thinks that he's got the better of Otis. Otis is saying that had I not called the match, he would have fucked his world up. So what better way than to kind of make it in a situation where they can't escape each other? They have to deal with it. Like there's gonna
Yeah,
be a winner.
there has to be. And I mean, and I believe I mentioned this to Peapod, and I believe this is the case. There's only been maybe two or three ever no rope barbed wire matches in the history of the Berwyn Eagles.
I didn't know that.
Because I
This will
believe,
be our second that we've ever done.
yes, and I believe for Berwyn Eagles, it either is the second or the third, because the first one that I know of common memory was Rob Anthony and Mance Warner at AAW back last year. And it was actually Rob Anthony's last death match. He retired from deathmatch wrestling after that. So it's a huge honor, not only for you guys to have your second ever no rope barbed wire, but for Berwyn Eagles to be graced with another no rope barbed wire match. Such a legendary stipulation. We've seen some amazing no rope barbed wire matches in the history of deathmatch wrestling, and now you guys get to add another check mark to the history. And I mean, with two people that are definitely not as familiar with the stipulation, I would say.
I'm not sure either have done it before.
Exactly. And I think that makes it more special because It was an organically built kind of grudge with these two. I mean, as you said, Otis is still pissed about December. Heater thinks he has the one up on him. And now these two, it's like, yeah, you're stuck in here now. Figure it out how you're going to beat the crap out of each other. And they did. It's only going to continue from what happened in December. So that one I'm excited for. I'm very excited for that one. Next up, this is the one that could get interesting here. The RPW Rust Belt Championship, as I'm calling it, the Tommy Vendetta Open Challenge.
Yes.
Is, as it's listed right now, Tommy Vendetta versus a mystery opponents. So it could literally be anyone. It could be
anyone.
It could be Peapod for all we know. It could be John Bullard. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It could be John Bullard coming out of retirement. It could be anybody.
I know Peapod's wife. I can't. The fallout from that, if I put that boy.
The heats. We don't want heat.
No.
But it could literally be anybody. It could be someone who had a match earlier in the night, for all we know. It could be anybody.
Quite literally anybody. It could be one of our regulars. It could be somebody making their debut. I mean, it could be literally anyone.
I mean, I'm gonna refrain from making a guess here. I want to be surprised.
I'm curious of what your guess would be.
Okay, since you put me on the spot to make a guess, honestly, I have a feeling it's someone making a debut.
Okay.
I have a feeling it's someone making a debut. My original guess was actually going to be someone who had been in RPW before, Jeff King, but I just said he's already been with RPWs already, so that wouldn't be a debut. I mean, debuts, honestly, almost could see, like, since even though I mentioned him earlier as trying to go for the RPW Tag Team Championships, almost could see like Ricky Shane Page for some wild reason. She's like, oh, hey, I want some new hardware. Why don't I just like come in, make the surprise, and get the win?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good guess. You're not the first to throw that. My inbox has been flooded with theories. I got people playing detective left and right. You're not the first to throw that name at me.
Well, it's good to know I'm not in the minority, so that's good. But
yeah.
Speaking of Tommy, though, a guy who is going to be coming fresh off his first ever UK tour, a guy who's really been only excelling, former King of the Kill champion, defended his belt in a sly way at Wideout, I would say. Kind of a interesting way he won there. I wouldn't say the worst way, but I wouldn't have said the best way. So he's coming off kind of he was a little bitter, it seemed like, after that one. He definitely seemed a little pissed off, I would say.
I think he's going from being a crowd favorite to like not being able to handle. Everyone kind of has turned on him. He's been kind of real squirrely and scummy.
And it's not just because of the fact that he wears a shirt every time.
No, his attitude seemed to, when Tommy first started coming around, he was, really bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and down for whatever, and like really excited and all this. And now he just seems to have this giant chip on his shoulder. And I'm not sure where it's coming from, but who knows? Maybe someone will come and knock that sumbitch off.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know who, but all we do know is March 2nd, be there. You never know who's going to show up from behind the curtains. So, last but not least, for the RPW Heavyweight Championship, which, by the way, this man successfully defended it at Russell Rave not too long ago, which was pretty awesome. Hoodfoot defends it this time against Atticus Koger. This is an interesting one. This is that one where I was like scratching my little beard. I was like, I didn't think this was possible. I didn't know if it was possible, but Atticus, a guy he's held gold before. That's not the issue. It's just these two are so different in the way they do things.
Yeah,
that's what makes this intriguing.
Polar opposite style. Hoodfoot's very much a brawler, Hoss. kind of style, and Atticus is more of a hybrid, more athletic.
More methodical.
Yeah.
Atticus is very cerebral in what he does. Hoodfoot just goes. He knows he has the strength to have an advantage on most of his opponents. But this is just a very, very interesting one. It piques my interest, but I'm just like, huh. How is Atticus? I mean, and mind you, like in any other world where there may have not been a bell involved, this may have been like a death match or something like that. But like it's for the heavyweight belt. I don't know how this one's gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, your guess is as good as mine, man.
Yeah, exactly. But that is the entire card for RPW Presents Animosity, March 2nd, Berwyn Eagles. As you heard from Bossman Chris, 50 more tickets were just added. So get on those before it is literally a packed house at Berwyn Eagles. Any last words on this full card? What is like your full reaction to this card that you've cultivated?
I definitely think it's very much us. I think we have kind of our own niche in what we're doing in the deathmatch community, and I think this is a good showcase of exactly what we do. And Chicago's always been very good to us. It's one of our favorite places to be. So we always try to go above and beyond for our Chicago shows. And I think that this is gonna be no exception. We definitely got some surprises up our sleeves. We usually try to always have something kind of percolating that people aren't expecting. So come have fun, come enjoy yourself. If you can't be there in person, it's streaming live on IWTV.
Yes, sir.
So tune in for the stream. And yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more proud of what I put together for this one.
Well, you heard here from Chris himself, guys. Make sure you tune in or get those tickets. The front row sold off really quick, by the way. I was stunned. I think that's the quickest sellout I've seen for a Chicago deathmatch show in a hot minute.
It was about 8 hours, I think.
8 hours. I mean, that was pretty damn quick for front row. That was wild. So congrats again. Another great show. We'll definitely be in touch as well. And guys, thank you for listening to this episode of Your Dose of Death podcast from myself and Chris, and have a good rest of your night, day, whenever you're listening to this. See you on the flip side.
Later.
This has been a Count Out Podcast.